Alright, so this is my CoreXY machine. We'll show you the thing I'm trying to accomplish here. So as a quick overview, I've got E3D Humera extruder sitting up there, and sorry I'm shooting this with my SLR because my cell phone doesn't record audio very well. Everything on this thing I designed with the exception of the fan mount and the cable chains. So if it looks like sin, please forgive me for a moment. It's going to go through another redesign here, but this is as it is for the moment. But the extruder runs on the y-axis, and you'll see that I've got a BL Touch mounted right next to the Humera on the y-axis cable chain, or y-axis mount. There is the rail that the y-axis runs on. I'm using end stops at the moment just because they seem to work a little bit better than sensorless homing when I've got really long belts like this. But then the y-axis sits on two parallel rails on either side of the frame. There's the other one over there for the x-axis, and on top of the x-axis I've got a couple of blocks that I had made. Let's see if I can go around the other side and show you a little better. Those blocks run the belt path in a CoreXY setup. And again, everything I designed and printed and all this other good stuff. 3D printer printing parts for a 3D printer. This is how the robots take over everything. Anyhow, the frame is ridiculously over spec. 40-80 extrusion on the long axis and 40-40 everywhere else. I salvaged the parts from work for that, and the same thing with these high wind rails. Pretty darn nice. Cleaned them up and everything works out pretty well. The glass build plate is I think supposed to be from a CR10. It's a 310 by 310 glass build plate, and then below that is where I have the Z motors. So let me get underneath here and I'll show you. The heated bed is a 750 watt 750 watt line powered unit, and then the Z motor and the Z axes are down here. Both of them are identical. I've got one on this side and one on the other side. So the Z motors with integrated lead screws have their bushings on there. That block is mounted to the linear rail for the Z axis, and then the bed is mounted. Come on this way, you can see it a little better. The bed is mounted on some 2020 extrusions from there with some mounts that I made holding the aluminum, and then the glass is clipped to that. Of course, the heated bed, there we go. The heated bed is attached to the bottom of the aluminum. Anyhow, the control board is and again, everything is still all in works here, so it's all a little messy. An SKR 1.4 turbo, and I've got the SKR, or the Big Tree Tech TFT 3.5 for the screen. So there you are for that. But and again, I made everything, which is why it's all a mess. As far as the motors are concerned, the two stepper motors on the back for as what you would call X and Y, but of course in a CoreXY it's a Delta, I don't even know what they're going to call them, but essentially these are the X and Y motors. The extruder motor obviously is the extruder, and the two Z motors are running individually. So one Z motor is hooked up to Z1 or Z, and the other one is hooked up to E1. So you've got the extruder on E0 and then the second Z motor on E1. Now, as you mentioned, there is another port for another Z motor, but as far as I'm aware, that runs in parallel to the first Z motor, so that those two motors would run exactly the same number of steps. So you cannot control them individually. With five drivers, you can only have 5 separate motor outputs, and so that's why I'm using the 5th one to drive the second Z motor. And again, those two motors, one there and one there, bringing the bed up. Right now I have the bed mounted on two linear rails, one on each side, and the biggest trouble I'm having is, of course, it's just ever so slightly wobbly. It's not bad at all, but if you wiggle it, if you try, you can wiggle it, and that was what I was hoping to accomplish and prevent with a third Z motor. My thought was, with the third Z motor, you'd be able to span out the motor and be able to give yourself some roll stability. But in addition, by using 3 separate Z drivers, we should be able to command all 3 of them to go up, and then go up, and then you can adjust each one of the 3 of them independently to level the bed. And that's what command G34 does. So there's the extruder there. I'm gonna go to the touch screen here and see if you can see this. Menu, G code, G34, and send. And what it's gonna do is it's homing the axis right now on X and Y. And then again, there's my BL touch, drops the probe, and actually this is gonna fault out because my probe got goofed up. So I'm gonna reset this real quick. Oops. My probe got goofed up when the last print failed, so I can't show you that right now. But what it will do is it'll do a similar homing method with moving over onto this side and then moving over on the last side, and it'll adjust the 2 Z motors until there's minimum height between the 2. So I apologize for showing you a failure, but anyhow, that's the setup there. So again, ridiculously over spec'd frame, but at the end of the day, this is what I hope to accomplish, is having 3 Z motors leveling the bed automatically. So there you go. Thanks for watching.